Good evening on a spooky Tuesday in Spooky Week, because we're coming up to Halloween, so I thought I'd take you to some spooky places. So hello to everyone coming in, and if you see any spectral figures walking through the screen, just shout. You've got your popcorn ready. Hello everyone. Good evening. I'm glad you can keep me all company. You like spooky. Well, this one's going to be a little bit more about gruesomeness. So we're going to talk about public executions and a few witches. Boo. Hello. So yes, at least I know you're still there. Not that you can be much use if anything happens, but I'll tell you anyway. Hello everyone. Good evening, Mo. Okay, so when we're here, what are we looking at? Right, well, this is the site of what used to be Newgate Prison, and it's now the Old Bailey and Central Criminal Courts. Yes, there is a pub nearby. Hello, Arkansas. Oh, hello, Ghost Girl. Now, this little quiet square here, you can see it's got little benches on, and it's got a nice little pond, and it all looks quite nice and welcoming. Well, this was actually the site of public execution. They'd come straight from Newgate Prison, and they'd hang them out in the courtyard here. So there was lots of hanging out in Newgate Prison, yes. And the remains of the cells are actually still underneath. Oh, you're just in time. Oh, that's nice of you. Now, what have we got here? Look, I'll just pan you around. You can see the Viaduct Tavern over there. And those modern buildings, I'm just going to show you I've got a couple of little drawings of what it used to be like. Look. Now, I'll go to my book here. So you can still see in the 19th century, this is the Newgate, this is the area, Newgate. So it's been rebuilt over, and it's now the Central Criminal Courts. So we're actually sitting about here. We're just sitting here, just in front of where the little square is here, see? So you can still see the shape. The buildings are pretty much similar. If we look down that street there, still the same shape. That's what it was like 100 or 200 years ago. Yeah, so this is now the Old Bailey. Now, just over here was called Compter, just over the other side, which I will show you now. If you see just have a look at this curved building. See the way it curves? This is now the pub now, the Viaduct Tavern. This used to be the Compter, which meant to be the old prison. Now if I show you around here, so you can see the curve in the road, and that modern building there with the lights on, that was the site of the old prison. Now, the cells run underneath the pub. Now, I did manage to visit these many years ago, but I've been told since that they're not very welcoming to people going down there anymore, because it's part of the pub. Here was, now I might just take you down to a little bit, we're not too far from where they used to do the hung drawing and quarrying. Looking at the pub. Yes, I think we might just be a little bit late to get one in there, but maybe I'll come back to it a little bit later in the week. But now, if any of you old witches are out there, I'm going to tell you a little story about witches, because there used to be a law of witchcrafts. Yes, you know, I mean, the cells the cells are below the ground. The new building is US Merrill Lynch. Oh, okay. All right, so that's what it is. Thanks, man. So this is Newgate, the site of the old Newgate Prison, and it was also the site of where public executions were in this square. So from 1783 until 1868, so that's quite some time here. As many as 20,000 people would cram into this area to make sure they can get a good view. So these buildings here, you can still see the old buildings here. So these would date way back to that time. And they used to rent out the rooms so people could actually get a better view. So people would peer out those windows down onto this little square here, and this was where they would hold out the executions. So it's a little bit of sport for things that are going on. The prison was demolished in the 1900s, and then they built the courts. Okay, so you can actually go into the courts nowadays and still see little bits of remains of the old ones. So now the last witch trial The last witchcraft trial was actually in 1944. You know, as late as that, people were being tried for witches. Now the last witch tried in Britain. I'll tell you this story. This is the unfortunate tale of the witch. There was a Scottish medium, Mrs. Helen Duncan. The specific charge against her was pretending to raise the spirits of the dead. The case so annoyed Winston Churchill that he fired off an angry missive to the Home Secretary demanding to know why the 1735 Witchcraft Act was being used in a modern court of justice. The defence even offered to hold a séance in the courtroom and allow the spirits to testify on Mrs. Duncan's behalf. But the jury disappointingly declined. The unfortunate medium was found guilty and spent 9 months in Holloway prison. So unfortunately, her supporters maintained that her trial and imprisonment were due to the official paranoia that the government actually feared she might see and reveal the preparations for D-Day, the D-Day landings. And as a direct result of the trial, the Witchcraft Act was repealed in 1951 and replaced by the Fraudulent Mediums Act. So witches were still being trialled up to as a short a view, about 70 years ago. Yes, exactly. So this is what we thought of witches right up to the years of 1944, but the government were actually paranoid that maybe she could see what was going on. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take you across the road. Maybe we can I'm just going to walk up a little bit. So if that doesn't frighten too many people, I'm just going to walk over here and I'll show you some more little tales of body snatching. Now, if you can see this little spooky church here, this is St. Sepulchre's. There's still a few about. I'll just wait to see if it's safe to cross the road. And I'm going to show you the story of body snatching. Okay, I think we're nearly good. I'm looking right. Yep, make sure we're looking right. Okay. Now, some of you have heard of the body snatchers. You smell the lovely tulips. They were really worried about it. What happened was medical students were really desperate during the 1700s to practice out on sort of fresh bodies. Now, obviously, we've got the site of the executions there. So this is the nearest church, St. Sepulchre's. Occasionally there have been. Yeah, so they would, if you've heard of the body snatchers, they would basically, after executions, which we showed you, they would be buried. Now the bodies were, sometimes they were healthy young men who'd just fallen on bad times and got into all sorts of scrapes. So they weren't diseased, they'd just been executed. But that made for great bodies for medical experiments. And I'll just show you this, look here. Now this, on the side of the church, yes, the likes of Burke and Hare. So this is the watchtower, erected in 1791. Although it was destroyed in 1941, it was rebuilt in 1962. So this is the area of the watchtower. They used to take a watch. They used to take it in turns to watch over the graveyards. Yes, there will be that kind of thing. And universities and various practicing doctors. So they still used to build the watchtowers over here for body snatchers. So that would watch over the church. So yes, that is actually the new Merrill Lynch Bank now. It is spooky indeed, isn't it? Hello everyone. So I'm just going to go down, I'm going to take you down to a little place. This is where now where we are, we're just out in the Holborn, near the Holborn district. Yes, I know, I've got plenty of stories to tell you about that, don't worry. I know where we're going. I'll just show you here, look, this little statue here, this is where the Great Fire of London finished in 1666. So this buoy was put here. And I'll just tell you the story about this one, because as you can see, he's a little fat cherub. So this is the golden buoy of Pye Corner. What happened was the fire was raging along the riverbank, and when it came to here, the soldiers, they tore down the houses because it was all made of wood. As you can see, look, see the narrow streets back here. So the Great Fire of London started over in Pudding Lane, and just here, as you can see the narrow streets here, you can see where it narrows down the back end there. That's the original streets. This is where the fire would catch. So the soldiers tore down all the houses, and that stopped the fire. Now, it stopped at Pye Corner. So this area was called Pye Corner. So now it started in Pudding Lane, and it finished in Pye Corner. So people thought it was a sign sign from God that there'd be no more gluttony. So this is what it says here. This buoy is erected in memory of the Great Fire of London, occasioned by the sin of gluttony, 1666. So people actually believed it, that this was a sign from God that the Great Fire stopped here. So this backs onto the Spitalfields. Rather spookily, my notes have just flown out my hand. Exactly. Alright, now hang on, I've just got a little note here. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go down to an area called Spitalfields, and I'm going to take you to another mass execution site. So if you bear with me for another couple of minutes, I shall be back shortly. I'll tell you a tale of execution. Just opposite the market, exactly. So thanks for joining that one. Hope you learned a little bit. I'll just show you a little spooky street. This is Cock Lane. See you in a second.